Happy almost Valentine's. It's Janet Wakeland here with Remarkably Created. And in today's Facebook Live video, we're going to take a look at the new Stampin' Up! Natural Tone Blends. These blends are the same blends in terms of their configuration, their makeup, the dual tips, and all of that the other alcohol markers are. So let's just take a look at them and see how different they are from blends already in the family. And then let's give you some really fun ideas that are not just skin tones that you can do with these blends. I've got lots and lots of great ideas to share with you. Lots of finished samples, so you're going to want to make sure that you stick around to the very end so we can showcase those samples for you. So these new blends, there are 10 of them, and they are sold in sets. And we refer to them as warm and cool colors, not light and dark. Even though you'll see the word medium and light and deep on them, they aren't necessarily a light and dark version. I went ahead and used my P2 Touch labeler just to put larger labels on them. And actually, I love this so much, I'm going to take my P2 Touch labeler down next time I sit in front of the TV and do all of my blends. But you've got 5 new sets that you are able to either purchase individually, the set individually, or you can go ahead and purchase the whole collection. Let's put those aside and let's bring in colors that are currently in the collection. So we have our cinnamon cider. And as you can see, it is vastly different, and the caps are actually pretty darn close to the real color, okay? So you can see already that's extremely different. Then, did we miss it? Here we go. We have our crumb cake. And again, there's nothing that is similar to the crumb cake, and I'll lay these down in here just so you can start to see the color lineups. We have our soft suede. And again, vastly different. We have our light and dark papaya. And these have more of an orangey tone, more of a yellowish tone cast to them. We'll put those down at this end. And then we have our petal pink. And you can see that even though they look similar, they're different, and we will pull these ones out because those are the ones that we're getting the most questions about, how they compare and contrast. So let's move those off to the side, and let's bring in a piece of paper, and just down here in the corner, not on the flower yet, I'm just going to compare and contrast. So we're going to start first with our dark petal pink, okay? Then we have, and I'm just reading, make sure I'm doing them right, our light petal pink. So, a little different there. Then we have our medium light, okay, number 700. They don't have any other name than medium light and a number. Look how dark already. Then we have our medium light 900. And then you have your medium light 800. And I'm going to hold that up closer to the camera. But you are going to see that all 5 of them are distinctly different colors. It's kind of like right now we're painting our walls in our house white, and all the whites sometimes look alike to you till you get them home and you put them in a larger swatch on your wall and you stand back and you stare at them and you realize that they really are different. There are different yellow undertones, gray undertones, blue undertones. There is a brightness to some of the whites. So these are all definitely different colors. So the new tones are definitely worthy of having in your collection, and not just for skin tones. There are so many applications. I absolutely love birds and I love critters of all kinds. And Stampin' Up! Has amazing otters and bears and owls and birds and things like that. And so having all of these kind of neutral tones, natural tones, are going to be perfect for all of those critters. A couple of reminders when working with the Stampin' Blends. You do have 2 tips. You have a brush tip and then you have a fine point tip. The fine point tip is going to be really, really great for getting into some of those smaller areas where you don't want that brush to maybe go outside the line, so your fine tip's going to be great for that. In addition, your fine tip is going to be great for some kind of doodling and things like that that you want to do. Some of you are great artists and you're going to be able to draw with that fine tip edge. You do have a cap, and listen for a second. Did you hear that snap? You want to make sure that that cap is on tight. These are alcohol markers, and if the cap is not on tight, alcohol evaporates and you will have them dry out on you. You also want to store them like this because they are dual tip. Okay, so you do want to store them flat or horizontal. And then with the brush tip, you are going to be able to color those larger areas. And when I work with the brush tip, I personally like to leave it a little bit on an angle instead of straight up and down. Straight up and down can eventually ruin your point over time. When you're coloring with stamped images, you want to make sure that you're working with Memento black ink. It's a great ink that is not going to spread, or an embossed raised image. One of the nice things about the Stampin' Up! Blends is that they are buildable in color. And so if I start to, let's just grab a different color here for a second. I had something else in mind for this flower. So darker color than that. Let's just do this. So I'm going to lay my colors, start to lay my colors down a little bit. And I can come in and then add another color around that. And I can just kind of keep going over those colors and blending them in and working them. And also if you get lines, so if you start to get those kind of lines on your paper, if you just kind of keep going over them, you can eventually blend all of those lines in. Those lines and marks disappear. When you are working with blends, you want to make sure to always have a piece of paper underneath of your blends of the project that you're working on, because it is a wetter ink. That alcohol-based ink does soak through the paper. So you want to make sure that you have something protecting your surface under that project. So buildable color, blendable color, quick drying. Even though it is blendable, it's still quick drying, which is amazing. So I love working with them. So now let's start to bring in some ideas and just show you what I've been playing with. All of you know that I am notorious for playing in the studio. I love to grab paper. I love to grab ribbon, embellishments, different things, and just ask myself, what would happen if? What would it look like if? And so that's exactly what I've been doing, is just kind of playing. And in this case, I've been working with designer paper and just kind of laying some colors down and a larger swath, just again, laying that tip on the side, but just using those blends to alter paper. These two cards aren't finished just yet, but you can see that the paper started out looking like this. And then by blending a couple of those new natural tones, we have a piece of wood that looks like this. And then this designer paper here, actually, the gray leaves and the leaves here were colored as well. So it wasn't a gray piece of paper. I wanted to pull these colors in. And to give you an example of another piece of wood tone, this is this. And this is this. That's one of the fun benefits of using those markers. In addition, the paper that the squirrels are dancing around started out as black and white paper, and we just used the markers, the fun tip, and a little bit of our blending brush to do that. So you can have a lot of fun definitely altering your designer papers. Another example of that, this is our beautiful Daffodil Delight paper. And you can see that it has a vanilla base, has some of our beautiful Bermuda Bay and Daffodil, but you can totally change the feel and the look of that paper by going ahead and adding your blends. If we look here, that's this daffodil right here. This flower, type of aster, is this one right here. So again, taking those blends and changing the color. In addition, on this card, one of the fun things about blends is how easy it is to alter your ribbon. And again, just using that brush tip and starting to just rub it along the ribbon. Because it's alcohol based, it's actually soaked in really pretty quickly. Your ribbon changes fast. And then also, unlike using Stampin' Up's classic inks to alter that ribbon, it's gonna dry faster, which means you can put your card together quicker. You don't have to leave it off to the side. So that's also where this ribbon came from, was from altering with the Stampin' Blends. So then another thing that the blends are good for is they're really good for working on vellum. And again, in this case, I just took vellum and I just laid the marker on its side and I just started to swish colors on. Just had some fun just swishing colors, kind of in a gradient order, just kind of moving from dark to light, but just swishing those colors on. It'll take just a second or two for it to dry. If you look at the paper, it'll be shiny for a second, and then it will go matte just like this. It'll take a second or two, but it does dry, so it is absolutely great for coloring on vellum. And then it's going to give you the opportunity here. I haven't finished this card yet, but you can see the vellum rainbow that is on this card. And then on this card right here, we used the skin tones for the stamped images, and then on the heart that was done out of vellum, we went ahead then and embossed the greeting. But again, you can just use it direct to paper, not even coloring anything in, just to create some fun images for yourself. So then looking at some more ideas for coloring your paper and just how you can change everything. This paper started out looking like this. We always think about coloring in stamped images, but I can guarantee that there are a bunch of you out there who have a stash of designer paper. And if you are, just give me that little heart, that little haha laughing emoji, right? Because yeah, we all have paper if we're a paper crafter. And so just that simply, a little piece of gold strip to tie into the gold foiling. I used the blend on the embellishment from the Abstract Beauty ephemera pack, Playful Alphabet for high, and just altered the paper just for a pretty little look. And it gave me a chance to use my early espresso cardstock, which maybe necessarily wouldn't have been the best match had I not colored that in and used the darker natural tones on that one. Another one, just I had a piece left over after I colored our Daffodil Delight paper. And oops, I wanted to show you just a little bonus tip for you. If you look at this scallop circle underneath, it's actually cut and got flaps like a flower on it. And all I simply did was take my scissors, I got my big ones in front of me, but you're gonna get the idea. And I just went around and cut into the circle, just kind of created little petals, and I just rolled them up. A good way to roll them up is with the spatula tip on your U-pick tool and just kind of curl it, or your bone folder. And then that's how I kind of created the little ruffles behind that. But just taking that extra piece that was left over from my playing. The white twine was also colored with the natural tones. I could have also colored the bee if I wanted it to be brown. I could color the bee. So then we talked about the vellum and coloring the vellum. That is exactly how this tree is done. It was colored, vellum, the vellum was colored, and then the tree was die cut from the Beautiful Moments. And before we put the tree down, we used some Stampin' Blends as the background, and then just a really soft card. But again, there's that vellum. Again, talking about coloring paper, there's a whole beautiful pack of paper that is while supplies last right now. That is a black and white color combination. And you've got all of that happening. So, oops, let me pull that one away. So with that rainbow, this is what we created here. We have that colorful rainbow. Just to keep the focus on the word together and rainbow, I went ahead and embossed the hands in white on vellum, and allows the rainbow to continue to show through, and then just some coordinated cardstock. These tonal markers, these natural tone markers, coordinate really well with colors that are in Stampin' Up's collection already. The pale papayas, the petal pinks, the soft suedes, the early espressos, lots of crumb cake, you name it, you can really pull it all together. They work great together. So then just a couple more for you just to show you here. You know, we just kind of filled in the white area, and it changes the look of the paper. In this case, on this card, the tonal markers are also natural tone markers, are part of a new product suite. You have the Here Together stamp set, and then you have dies that cut out the hands, the heart, as well as You Matter, and then the words Here for You. And in this case, I wanted to tie this gray marble paper from Celebration into the hands, and so I just took the markers direct to the white areas of the marbling paper. So let's look at a few more fun ideas, and we're going to put a card together here. Some more of that paper, that wood paper, just playing with different colors. This one you can see I added more of kind of the warm, so it's going to pull in some pinks. Have some fun with that. And so here we have the marble paper. Normally the marble paper is white, and in this case I added one of the natural tones. And the reason I did that is I like caramel in my ice cream, so I like it when there's swirls of caramel. I'm not a huge ice cream fan, but when I eat ice cream, I like it pretty fancy. And so I do like caramel in my ice cream. I do like butter pecan or pralines and things like that in my ice cream. So this is going to become an ice cream scoop here in just a second. So I altered that paper. Then I also altered this paper. This paper here has some kind of paint stripes on it. When you go over it with your blends, you're going to see that, yeah, there's a little bit of pink that might show up. I could go over it darker a few times, but I still was able to see a little bit of the texture, and it gave you just a really cool look, and you're going to see more of that. And then this was just a piece of kind of a neutral paper. And what I did here was I just roughly swished marker this way in a light color. And then in a darker color, I did marks this way and marks this way. And you can see that here. Then what we ended up with that we're going to put together are our ice cream scoops. So now instead of white lines through it, we have the caramel stripes. And then we have a little bit of coffee flavored ice cream, also one of my favorites. To add that little bit of texture to the cone to give it the waffle look, we just used the stripes folder. So one of the really cool things about playing with your Stampin' Blends is just how much customization you can do, how much you can do to just really be creative and get that much more usage out of everything that you own, by not just focusing on coloring your stamped images, but coloring your papers. And what I found is as I started to play with this, it helped me go back into my craft stash, just like the On the Horizon paper, and pull products I hadn't played with in quite a while. So here's that marble paper. Here you can see that scoop of ice cream against an uncolored piece of marble paper. You can see how white that was. It's pretty, it's gorgeous, but it didn't look like caramel, and I wanted it to look like caramel. It's just one of those things that I really wanted. Oops, let's get this rolling. Okay, now we're going to be contrary. Let's stick that down. I'm just using a piece of vellum. I love to work with vellum. It gives you that little peekaboo effect of what's underneath of it. And we're going to go ahead and use some dimensionals to pop it up. And what's nice is I can hide the dimensionals behind that scoop of ice cream, and you won't see any adhesive. Oops, so we're gonna put it on our early espresso, and then that we will put our adhesive to, maybe, okay. We're gonna put that down. Ahead of time, I went ahead and embossed the greeting that says, hoping your birthday is filled with all the best things. Thought that was a perfect greeting to work with our ice cream on. And let me bring my scissors back in here again. I'm just gonna cut these apart just a little bit. I'm gonna cut it into 3 pieces. So we've got 3 greetings just so I can kind of, and now we're gonna take a little bit off the edge. I wasn't sure just yet how it would all line up. And trust yourself, you can cut straight enough, I promise you, okay? You don't always need to grab the trimmer, although I'm a huge fan of our trimmer. So I've got these, and I'll show you a little tip. I've been using Stampin' Up's foam strips more and more lately. I started playing around with shaker cards, which totally revived my interest in these foam strips. But I've also then, because I've had them on the table, started using them for longer greetings. And then when I do a video for you guys with slimline ideas on Monday next week, slim card ideas, you're going to see even more uses of that. Mary, I don't remember the name of the greeting set right off the top of my head, but I promise I will come back and I will comment on your question with the name of the stamp set. But what's nice about these is they are perfect for those times that you want to cut your greetings apart and you really want the whole greeting to be elevated, because sometimes if you only put a dimension on either end, believe it or not, that center can sag. And so just really kind of, like I said, breathing some life back into my foam strips. I had kind of stayed away from them, and I'm not sure why, other than for shaker cards, I had them, you know, gave them a designated purpose. But the reality is they have so much more to give than just a shaker card. So let's put that down. So we can just have some fun popping it around. We can go ahead and add a little bit of glitter and some sequins to it, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. But let me just finish off by showing you two more tips. I mentioned that all blends can do the same thing. All blends can color paper. All blends can color in your stamped images. All blends can color ribbon and twine. And all of your blends can color your embellishments. What's really cool, again, is it becomes permanent. So if you're wanting to color on tiles and glass and things like that, it is a great ink to use for those things. So let me grab a little darker one of them. Let's do our deep color here. And I always like to work with the embellishment still on their adhesive backing. And I just swirl around, again, trying to preserve that tip just a little bit. I'm going to let that dry and I'm going to go back over it again. Now, your finished look is going to depend a little bit on what you start with. Let me hold that up to the camera for you. You can see that that still has a little bit of the opaqueness, or not the opaqueness, there's another word for it. You can still see it's kind of clear, and it has a little bit of that opal look to it. If I had started with a matte piece, it would look totally different. So let's color our star here for just a second. And again, you're going to have just a different look depending on what you're starting with. And again, after they dry, I can come back over them and I can add some more. Let's start here with our matte. And look how pretty this is, guys. So all of your embellishments, you've got that stash of embellishments right up there with that stash of paper. And so you're going to be able to alter those and customize those embellishments. As you're customizing the paper, you want to customize those. And like I mentioned here, I could actually have colored this bee in places. So let's now just add just a little bit to this bee. Normally I would do it on a piece of paper, but I just want you to see now, just that little extra on the bee is now going to tie it more into the card. And remember, these are our new natural tones, but don't forget that there is a huge wide range of Stampin' Up! Colors out there just waiting to be used on your designer papers, on your ribbon, and on your embellishments. Celebration right now is the perfect time to build that Stampin' Blends collection. Or if you're like me, I had a couple of colors I realized that were starting to dry out. A couple of tips were frayed from lots of love and use, and so I just simply replaced them. So it's a good time to replace your blends if you need to. Good time to start to build that stash. And don't forget the new tone markers as you do that. So lots and lots of fun ideas for you guys. I'll be finishing up some of the projects that you saw that were just waiting to be finished, and then the rest of the fun ideas we're going to go ahead and be posting them for you, because there's just lots of great inspiration there, guys. Any questions, always keep asking them into the comments below, because I do like to go back and look through them and ask them, like Mary did about the greeting, which we'll come back and find that answer for her. So keep asking away, and then I will see you on Monday as we explore slimline cards together, and I've got some fun ideas and some cool tips for you on those as well. So have an amazing weekend, guys. Take care and God bless.